Welcome to this lesson. Today's lesson is a concluding phase of rounding off numbers, but this time around decimal numbers to decimal places. We have talked about rounding off decimal numbers to the nearest whole number, to significant figures, tenth, and hundredth. But there's one aspect that we have not looked at, and that is rounding off decimal numbers to decimal places. So I'm just going to restrict myself to two decimal places and three decimal places. They are all decimal numbers. So let's start with the very first example. These same numbers are the ones I used in previous examples, but just that we're rounding off to decimal places. So I'm starting with 7.0384. If you look at this number, it is written into four decimal places. The same principle governing rounding off numbers, rounding off decimal numbers to significant figures, tenth, hundred, and so on, is the same principle that is governing rounding off decimal numbers to decimal places. So here, since we have four decimal places, I'm going to write it to two decimal places. Now, my answer will be 7.03. Now, before writing this to 7.03, I have to check the digit after 3. So the question now is it greater than 4? Yes, and that's 8. So I round up. My answer becomes 7.04. To make this interesting, let us include 1 month. Let me divide it this way and include one decimal place. So let's assume I'm asked to write to one decimal place. Okay, so let's start with that. Now 7.0384 to one decimal place will be 7.0. But before writing the 7.0, I'll check the digits after 0, and that's 3. It tells me I'm rounding down. So my answer will just be 7.0. To three decimal places, 7.038. Now I'll check the digits after 8, it's 4. So which means I'm rounding down. So it becomes 7.038. Now let's go to number 2. I have 18.502. And let me introduce another digit. Let's say 5. Now to one decimal place, it will be 18.5. Now check the digits after 5. It's 0. It tells you you're rounding down, so your answer is simply 18.5. To two decimal places will be 18.50. Now before you write the 0, you check the digits after the 0. It is 2. So that tells you you're also rounding down. So my answer is 18.50 to two decimal places. The three decimal places is going to be 18.502. Now, before you write the 2, you check the digit after 2. It's 5. It tells you are rounding up. So by adding 1 to the 2, so it becomes 18.503. This work is very easy. So you remembering that if it is to one decimal place, there should be one digit after the decimal point. If it is to two decimal places, there should be two digits after the decimal point. The three decimal places, there should be three digits after the decimal point. So you now look at the number, whether you're going to round up or you round down. Remember, we explained the concept of rounding up and rounding down. And that's the principle we're applying in solving this. Now let's pay attention to the next example. I have 0.06752. Now the question says round this to one decimal place. My answer will just simply be 0.0. But before I write this 0, I had to check the digits after the 0, which is 6. And so because it is 6, I'm going to round up by adding 1 to the 0, so it becomes 0.1. To two decimal places will be 0.06. But before I write the 6, I'll check the digits after the 6. It is 7, tells you you're rounding up by adding 1 to the 6. And that becomes 0.07. To three decimal places, it will be 0.067. But before I write the 7, I had to check the digit after 7. It's 5. It tells you you're rounding up. And by adding 1 to 7, and so that becomes 0.068. So to round up, the digits must be from 5 to 9. To round down, it must be from 0 to 4. So let's go to number 4. I have 0.0003875. Good. Now to one decimal place, what will be your answer? 0.0. Point 0. I'll check the digits after the 0 to determine whether I'm going to round up or to round down. And the digit is 0. So that means I'm rounding down. So my answer is 0.0. To two decimal places will be 0.00. Now I have to check the digits after the 0 to determine whether to round up or to round down. And the digit after the 0 is also 0, so it means I'm rounding down. So my answer is 0.00. To three decimal places, it's going to be 0.000. But before I write this 0, I had to check the digit after the 0, and it's 3. It tells you you are rounding down. So it becomes 0.000. Now, let's assume it is 875. Let's assume I have it work like this. To one decimal place will still be 0.0. But now let's pay attention when it is to two decimal places. It's going to be 0.00. But just before I write this 0, I had to check the digit after it. It's 8. It means I'm rounding up. Add 1 to the 0. So it becomes 0.01. To three decimal places, it will be 0.008. Now, before I write this 8, I'll check the digit after 8. It's 7. It means I'm rounding up. Add 1 to 8. So it becomes 0.009. And let's go to number 6. If I have 35.4321, to one decimal place is going to be 35.4. 4 because this is 3, so you run down. To two decimal places will be 35.43. 43 because after the 3, the digit is 2, so you're rounding down. And then to three decimal places will be 35.432. You have to write this 2 because the digit after 2 is 1, so you round down. Now let's check out number 7. 72.473. Now to one decimal place, it is 72.4. But you check the digits after 4, it's 7, so you're rounding up. And so this becomes 4 plus 1, 5. 72.5. To two decimal places will be 72 point. Did you say 47? You're correct. Because after 7, the digit is 3, so you cannot round up. Rather, you round down. And to three decimal places, your answer will remain the same, 473. Because the question is already the three decimal places. The number 8, I have 7.1863. Now this is 4 decimal places, but let's write it first of all to one decimal place. It will be 7.2. Yeah, because after 1, the digit is 8, and you can round up by adding 1 to 1, and that's 7.2. To two decimal places will be 7.19. It's such because after 8, the digit is 6. So which means you're rounding up. Add 1 to 8, and that's 9. Three decimal places will be 7.186. Three decimal places. It is 6 because this is 3. So you run down. Number 9. Let's do a tricky question. I have 8.8999. Good. Let's assume I have a question like this. To one decimal place, that won't be a problem. 8.9. Because after 8, the digit is 9. And so since the digit is 9, you add 1 to 8, and that becomes 8 plus 9. 8.9. What about the two decimal places? It's going to be 8.89. That's correct. But check the digits after 9. It's 9. So you're rounding up. To round up, you add 1 to the 9 and becomes 10. But remember, you're not writing 10. You write 0 and rename. Take the 1 to the other digit. And that's 8 plus 1, 9. So your answer becomes 8.90. Now, what about the three decimal places? It's going to be 8.899. But just before writing that, I'll check the digits after 9. It's also 9. So I'm going to add 1 to this 9. And that will be 10. You write a 0. You rename. Add 1 to the other 9. 9 plus 1 is also 10. You rename. Write and 0. You take 1 to the other side. And then 8 plus 1, 9.8. So it becomes 8.900. Now, this is the last question. With this, I want to believe we'll be able to understand the concept of rounding up numbers to decimal places. 9274. One decimal place, 4.9. Because after 9, the digit is 2, so you're rounding down. Two decimal places, 4.93. 3 because the digit after 2 is 7, so you round up, add 1 to 2. So 3 decimal places, it is 4.927. 7 because the digit after 7 is 4, and so you round down. Easy peasy. Okay, you just have some few works to do for me. Test my IQ. Round up the following numbers, they're actually decimal numbers, to 2 decimal places and 3 decimal places. So each of the question will have 2 answers. Number 1, you round up to 2 decimal places, and then you also round up to 3 decimal places. You go to number 2, the same thing, to 2 decimal places and to 3 decimal places. Number 3, just like that. Work out the solution to these questions and put your answers in the comment section. And please remember, if you like this video, subscribe, share, and see you in the next class.